A Chinese company listed on a US exchange right now gets their auditing done back home, gets their accounts ran through, but legally they do not have to send those audits to the United States, even though that company is listed on an American exchange.
That's correct. The Chinese regulatory structure allows kind of the broad definition of information to be classified as state secrets, and doing so forces companies to restrict access outside of China, especially to foreign companies, to access such information.
So Senator Rubio's put together the so-called Equitable Act, and he's trying to do something about this, which ultimately ends up with the delisting of a company that doesn't abide by the auditing standards here in America. Where's that act going, Dan?
I mean, it's hard to tell. It seems to have bipartisan support, and if you look at the global audit firms that exist, they really are trying to force consistency in audit execution, especially for multinational companies. So all this act is really trying to push is the transparency and to ensure that the standards that the audit firms are carrying out domestically in China meet PCAOB standards in the US.
So the protectionism is around standards, it is around national security concerns, and in the last 24 hours, it is around human rights. We have a new front for this trade dispute. The 8 Chinese tech firms that now are blacklisted by the United States. Walk me through that development, Dan.
Yeah, and this was rumored up until the spring, after some of the earlier tech companies had been put on the Commerce Entity List, and I'll get into a second what that really means.
Yeah.
This had kind of gone quiet for most of the summer with the trade dispute ongoing. The Commerce Entity List is not really a blacklist per se. I wouldn't liken it to something that the Treasury Department would do through OFAC. The Commerce Entity List essentially forces U.S. companies to gain a license in order to ship goods, parts, to the blacklisted entities, the quote-unquote blacklisted entities. Now, how this has been got around for in total legal ways by existing companies, if a U.S. company manufactures goods outside the U.S., then they don't need a license to ship to those impacted companies. So this is largely symbolic. It was interesting to see the human rights angle, and it wasn't just tech companies. It was also the Public Service Bureau in the Uyghur region where they were kind of overseeing human rights abuses. So it's a little more complicated, but it's not as simple as a pure blacklist. There's still loads of business that can be done with these entities.
Do you expect it to get worse before it gets better?
Well, the timing of this was unfortunate. I mean, this happened and was dropped as the president was speaking that China wants a deal. When he was at a podium talking about the U.S.-Japan trade deal that was just inked, he was literally saying, as this was released, that China wants a deal. Obviously, with the trade discussions ongoing this week, this is a pretty significant complexity to them.
Yeah.
That being said, for the most part, with the other tech companies that have come before them, most of these companies have shifted their manufacturing, their supply chain already. So this is likely to have a minimal disruption to them. That being said, financial institutions, anyone that works with these companies will need to have heightened diligence around kind of who are they dealing with and is it permissible.